Hytale's next update is going to add the best feature introduced since launch. Fine, probably the second after proximity chat. For context, in part 9 of the Update 6 pre-release cycle, the Hytale team dropped a hardcore mode, pretty much identical to Minecraft's and pretty much any other games, but specifically within the Hytale context, it's going to be compared to Minecraft. For those unfamiliar, in a hardcore world, a player cannot respawn after dying, and is instead switched into spectator mode, where they can fly around, look at all the projects they were working on, but never interact with the world again. The odd thing about this addition is that Simon Hypixel had mentioned that Chapter 1, which had been revealed only a week before this update, was meant to make Hytale less similar to Minecraft. While the hardcore mode is not at all exclusive to Minecraft, the implementation was pretty much the same as Minecraft's, and made Simon seem a touch hypocritical. 2 weeks later, they've added more features that have completely blown Minecraft's hardcore mode out of the water. 5 different kinds of hardcore. The first 2 are Hardcore Off and your standard permadeath hardcore mode with only 1 life. The remaining 3 are what really excite me: 3 strikes, 9 lives, and soulbound modes. In 3 strikes, each player will have 3 lives, and the number of lives remaining will be displayed above their health bar. I am in love with this feature, as it's basically a native version of the Third Life mod, which is my favorite YouTube series of all time. If you've never watched it, I'd highly recommend checking that out. It's hilarious, it's done by some of my favorite Minecraft YouTubers, and it is awesome. I can see this being a fantastic lower risk single player option to spike the game up, or a great base for a short-term co-op or competitive multiplayer world. In 9 lives, every player in the world shares a pool of 9 lives. Once those 9 lives run out, everybody dies. This will be an amazing mode for small co-op worlds, say a group of about 3 to 5 friends, where not only do you have to keep yourself alive, but you have to keep your friends alive as well. I imagine it'll make running dungeons super fun. It is also nice because the world ends at the same time for everybody, which means unlucky members of the team won't be forced out of the worlds like they might do with 3 lives, and the players will be more likely to finish the world instead of quitting after a few others have permanently died and they still have a couple lives remaining. One big loss is that if the lives run out while a player is offline, their world will be gone in a huge anticlimax and they may never know what happened. So this is probably best played with a tight group who's agreed to always play at the same times. It'd be very nice to see a rendition of this where there is a live pool, but lives are checked out by players, kind of like how they are in Mario games, so that when the last life is taken, everybody stays alive, but deaths become permanent. Obviously this option would have some problems still, but imagine the team is on a boss fight and the last life is used up, with team members dropping one by one. Perhaps such a mode would benefit from some sort of opportunity to add lives back into the pool, especially after completing main story events once that does eventually make it into Hytale. Both the 9 lives and 3 strikes modes will allow the world creator to adjust the number of lives, so you could do a 5 strikes or a 7 lives mode. It would also be cool if you're able to adjust the individual number of lives per player for the 3 lives mode, so that you can have a staggered amount. Maybe some people start on 1 or 2, some people start on like 6, or if you have better players or if you want to spice up a competitive server a little bit. These numbers cannot be set to 0 for obvious reasons, although it would have been kind of funny to see them try to do that. The final mode, Soulbound, isn't even really its own mode, but it's simply a 1 life version of 9 lives. I'm curious how fun this will be. I imagine that past 4 or so players, it just doesn't make sense because there'll be way too many things, there's going to be too many weak links, and it's not going to last very long. But in a group of like less than 4, especially like a 2-player world, I can see how the dynamic of doing everything in your power to keep your friends alive would be absolutely awesome. I also imagine that these modes are going to have crazy amounts of bow spam because 4 people lining up with bows is just going to kill everything immediately. Not only are Hypixel shifting Hytale away from Minecraft with these additions, they're clearly thinking about multiplayer worlds in their design direction, which is hugely exciting for the future. And again, like I said earlier, proximity chat was probably the best post-launch feature that they've added, and again, they're thinking of multiplayer worlds, which is great because if you look at like statistics, co-op games tend to outperform all other games by a huge margin. I'm super excited to try out these new modes. Hopefully I'll eventually be able to convince my friends to get Hytale. My brother already did, and my girlfriend said that she will when they add boats, so I'm close to having a nice team going. I can't wait for people to start making YouTube series like Third Life or high-stakes cooperative worlds, especially when Hytale 1.0 comes around with a fully fledged storyline and some sick bosses. Which of the hardcore modes are you looking forward to playing the most? Let me know in the comments below, and until next time, stay happy!